So my name is Paul Houle. I'm a neurosurgeon and I come from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. How it all began, I think it's very important to think about where we come from to figure out where we're going. And it began at the Joy Max User Group meeting in Orlando, Florida. And there was a gentleman sitting up there in the front with his back to us who gave a talk about endoscopic anterior cervical discectomy. This is something that I'd never heard about before in my life. For us in the United States, an anterior cervical discectomy infusion is one of the most predictable surgeries that we have, and it also reimburses very highly, so it's a very popular surgery. But here was a guy who was, during his talk, showing himself golfing, wearing his neck brace, and I thought to myself, well, here's a guy who believes in his surgery enough that he was willing to stick his neck out. It's a pun. That joke just didn't go over well. Anyway, and then later on that year, I met Dr. Bay at Eurospine in Dublin. And so this is my first introduction to Wooridul. But going back, if you think about how we learn surgery, and that is really important. How do you change mid-career? Because if you think about when you're doing your residency, your training, the day you finish is probably the most advanced you're going to be. Because you can be assured that as time goes on, new techniques are going to be developed. And how do you then learn those techniques and implement them into your practice? Now, my chairman at my department, Dr. Dennis McDonald, wrote something to me when I graduated in my program. He said, "Don't let the limits of convention constrict your vision and your innovation, and may your patients always benefit from your efforts." And that is something that's driven me throughout my entire career. You know, in my mind, I want to be the best endoscopic spine surgeon in the world. And the way I do that is I train, and I train, and I train. And I visit people who are better than me so that I can learn from them. So I train, and I train, and I train. There's an American author named Malcolm Gladwell who wrote a book called Outliers. And Outliers is a study of success. And success isn't just something that you're born with. It's not some innate ability. It's not innate genius that allows you to become great. Success is the result of meaningful hard work. And he goes on to talk about how it takes about 10,000 iterations of anything, whether it's hitting 10,000 baseballs or hitting 10,000 free throws. But if you do these repetitions, you'll gain mastery. The take-home message is that there's no shortcut to mastery other than putting in the hours. And that's why I train and I train and I train, because I want to master. So he also recommends that whenever you're put into a situation where there's an opportunity, you should seize it. So I was offered the opportunity to attend the 98th Wooridul MISS course, and so I seized it. At that point in my career, I'd already performed a couple of hundred TSIS cases. And just before the course began, Dr. Bay sent me a very nice email asking me if I'd be interested, why would I be interested in attending such a basic course? And in my opinion, keeping the golf thing going, you know, if you have the opportunity to go learn how to play golf with Tiger Woods, well, you go play golf with Tiger Woods. So even though it was a basic course, I felt it was extremely important for me to go learn, to see the technique, to see how you teach, because I want to be better. I want to be a better teacher and I want to be a better surgeon. I also knew that endoscopic spine surgery is far more common in Korea than it is in the US. And I knew that Wooridul performs approximately half of the spine surgery in all of Korea. So as I put it all together, you know, you have the leader of endoscopic spine surgery in Korea having a procedure done on himself, being performed by Dr. Bay, and I have the opportunity to learn in Korea. I want to come here and I want to learn from that guy. So that's why I came. So what did I learn? There's a lot of differences between Americans and Koreans and how you view surgical procedures. From what I learned here, it's very difficult to convince people to have a surgical procedure, but they're more than happy or more amenable to having a procedure, but not a surgery. In America, right now, people are always amenable to having surgery because we just want the quick fix. We want the pill that's going to make us better. Most of us don't want to do the hard work that's necessary to get better. We just want a pill or a surgery for that matter. And in fact, surgeries are moving into the outpatient setting. And so anything that offers more of a quick fix with a very small incision, maybe the size of a Band-Aid, people are very interested in having. Are surgeries that you perform here inpatient or outpatient? Well, I was very surprised to see how many of the patients were inpatients. That was shocking to me because in the United States, everything is about getting people out of the hospital. Anything that happens inside of a hospital is very expensive, and so the push in the United States is to do everything in an ambulatory surgery center outside of a hospital. It's the economics of it that's driving it. Is it good? Is it bad? I don't know. But I was just surprised to see so many people after their endoscopic spine surgeries walking around on the floor wearing braces. One of the biggest things that I saw that I wish I could do in America was the use of your MRI. I mean, here it appears to me that MRI is just a tool. And in America, the biggest cost centers are medications or drugs and then advanced imaging. So MRIs cost a lot of money in the United States. But your ability to be able to get an MRI immediately after a surgery really helps reinforce your learning process. So you may have a case where things didn't go quite as well as you thought they went, and you wondered what kind of job you did. But to be able to have an MRI while that patient's case is fresh in your mind really helps direct what you're going to do the next time you encounter this situation. So this constant feedback, this learning process that occurs after every case, I think is invaluable, and is something I wish that I could incorporate into my own practice, but I know that I never will. There are also some pretty significant difference in the anesthesia. I noted your protocol here in Korea. In the United States, they want to sedate people to the point where sometimes patients have to get an LMA. Everyone is complaining about, oh, patients are waking up during surgery. And in fact, just this past Monday, it's commonplace for our nurses to call back the patients and ask them how their surgery went. And the patient said, well, I woke up during my surgery and I felt pain. And they ran to the administration and I got phone calls. And I said, but you realize this was an awake endoscopic procedure. They were supposed to be awake. They might feel pain and that's okay. It just goes to show you we still have a lot to learn in the United States. And I was also very impressed by the quality of the people working in your operating rooms. Where I work, I'm moving the x-ray machine in and out. I have to do everything myself. And at Wooridul, the x-ray technician actually had the markings on the patient. Everything was perfect. They got the perfect AP, the perfect lateral. I have to do all of that myself. And so when you train your people to do a good job and then they accept the responsibility and their role in making that patient better, I think it's really important. I think you've done a fabulous job. I also learned that maybe I used a little too much stuff. If you look at the right side, that's my back table. This was Monday. I took a picture of your back table. And if you look in the far left, there's a basin with a turkey, we call it a turkey baster. Like, what would I ever use that for? This little thing right here. It's for fill water, and that's a big plunger. Like, what would you possibly use that for? But I get one on every single case, and I actually don't know why. It just shows up. It's just there. Like, do I need all of this? I mean, you guys, I need a needle driver and a pickup. I got like 8 of them. And I don't even throw things in the OR. I'm really a pretty calm guy. So it's actually driven me to say, people, we don't need all this stuff. Because it costs money to process all of this. Not direct money, but indirect. People could be doing other things. And so we've actually gone to try to streamline our kits, but I think we use too much stuff. I really enjoyed the Friday conference because it got everybody a chance to sit down and talk about what you're doing and learn about things that might be going on in other hospitals. I tried to institute this with my 4 other partners because we were talking, we don't even see each other anymore. We're just all going in different directions. Nobody knows what each other's doing, what their complications are, and how do you learn. You know, Dr. Lee was really focusing in this particular lecture about the midline granulation tissue that you see in MRIs with the high intensity zone, something that I never really thought very much about. We see it from time to time, but there's a population of patients out there that, in my practice that I've done, that can certainly benefit from endoscopic treatment of this condition. I'd also have laser envy. I would love to be able to use the side-firing laser back in the United States. You use it here all the time. The reason that we have it is that in the United States, the laser fiber costs about $1,100 to $1,300. And the total reimbursement for the hospital for a surgery is about $8,000. So if you take away $1,000 off of that, it's too much. The hospital doesn't want to pay for it. It's also, there's no ability to get a handpiece. Evidently, Luminous can't provide it. You guys have it, but there's no one in the United States manufacturing it. So it would be a nice tool. I would like to use it. Hopefully I will in the future. So in conclusion, you know, this is my time here was really a validation of my premise that transforaminal endoscopic discectomy is actually better than traditional discectomy. And I do MIS surgery. That's basically all I do. The endoscopic anterior cervical discectomy is a very safe procedure, and the long-term results were very impressive. While I was there, there was a patient that had come in with their husband who had had an anterior discectomy 10 years prior, and you guys did an MRI, and the disc itself was completely normal. And that's actually very powerful to be able to demonstrate a completely normal disc 10 years after a procedure. And you know, the delivery of healthcare in Korea is every bit as advanced as it is in the United States, and of course you all know that, but we don't know that in the United States. And since you have such a high volume of published studies, when we try to use those studies in the United States to get insurance companies to pay for procedures, it can get very difficult if we don't use the same terminology. The word percutaneous, if you use that in any of your papers, is a very bad word in the United States. If any paper that uses the term percutaneous is immediately discarded, and the results of the conclusions of the study are completely disregarded, and we can't use that to validate the procedure with our insurance companies. Therefore, we can't get paid. Therefore, it doesn't get done. So I implore you that as moving forward in the future, please eliminate the term percutaneous from any paper that you might write. And I also saw that same picture, and this says it all. And I have this up in my operating theater. Small is beautiful, less is better, minimally invasive spine. Thank you very much.